What's up guys, it's Panda again, back with another deck profile for the Digimon card game. And this time we are covering blue in the 1.0 format. So it's no secret right now that blue Omnimon is currently the best deck, and I kind of wanted to provide my take on it and kind of what I've been toying around with. Uh, I've I kind of wanted to touch on what blue does really well compared to other decks. And I mean, you're talking about a lot of memory efficiency with Hammer Spark, and a lot of your vanillas providing a bunch of your utility and spamability. And of course, those are the other two key aspects to the deck as well, as its spamability and its utility. I mean, you can build high going with Omnimon all the way to basically Rookie Rush with all your vanillas, or your Gabumon, making you cycle through your cards and stuff like that. And so what is a little different from my build to other is a couple of tech card choices that we'll see in a little bit, and we're kind of going to talk about those, and those would be Kaiser Nail and Metal Siegramon. Uh, I know a lot of the more competitive builds have been opting in for either Metal Siegramon and Volcanic Dramon, and we'll touch on why I think Metal Siegramon is a little bit better. But for now, let's get into the deck profile. Alright, and so here we have the deck list that I am currently running and I've kind of been toying around with. I've gone through a little bit of testing with it, and I've found it to be what I think is best for the way I play. And so starting out with everything, it is 4 Upamon and 1 Wanyamon for the babies. Always want to max out on the babies. I don't particularly agree with running 4 of an egg just for the sake of consistency, when it's that last egg is super important if you get into a grindy match. So I just don't think that that's correct. But for the rookies, we have 3 Lekmon, 4 Gabumon, 4 Gomamon, the one that has the on deletion effect, and then 2 vanilla Gomamon. So I know a lot of decks try to max out on your vanillas just because your that memory efficiency that we were talking about earlier. It's just you get so much utility out of these two that I just believe that it's they're kind of important for the deck. So I think running 5 vanillas out of the rookies is perfectly fine, and I just hate having one of them, so I didn't want to max out on a Lekmon. Then next, let's move into our level 4s. So we have 3 Garurumon and 4 Gorillamon and 4 Grizzlymon. So I think this is probably like one of the most controversial things out of all the blue decks. So sometimes you'll see the Leomon instead of the Garurumon, or you'll see the Garurumon maxed out instead of the Gorillamon, or vice versa, this at 4 and then this at 3. And usually whenever you see the Grizzlymon at 3, that means that you're maxing out on Metal Garurumon, because you can just get it back after digivolving all the way up. But I think for this specific build, I wanted to keep the ability to spam out and be memory efficient, and just really play into that trope. Okay, and then so now let's move on to the level 5s. We have 4 Monzaemon, again being as memory efficient as possible, making sure that we're able to just put that level 5 out there just in case we get stuck and don't see any of our lower level monsters or Digimon, whatever. And we have 2 Zudomon, and then 3 Weregurumon. I think this is actually the biggest thing that I would change in the deck. I find myself being able to use Zudomon's effect a lot more than Weregurumon, just for the simple fact that I feel like you're more likely to get yourself out of choking situations, and especially since I don't run the memory fixing tamer, that I think Zudomon would be a little bit more effective at 3 than 2. And there's also been some builds where they're either maxing out on Weregurumon or they're maxing out on Zudomon and then playing one copy of each or one copy or the other. Okay. Next thing we have, my cat's playing in the background. Next thing we have is 2 Metal Garurumon and 2 Metal Siegramon, and then a playset of the Plesiomon. So, in my head, for the sake of the spamability, we could be playing the extra Metal Garurumon, and that's definitely fine, that's definitely logical. The only thing that irks me to play that is because I was testing it at like 3 or 4, I think, and the issue that I was running into was when playing against other blue decks or other red decks, that there was a lot of times where the Metal Garurumon would just die on first security check. So it's been pretty rough trying to play into that, because I mean, you waste all these resources, you detach, and then you make all this effort to get a good chunk and play in, and for this card to die on its first security is just a little disappointing. So I don't think running 3 is wrong. I just think maxing out on the Plesiomon is just better at the moment, just for the sake of its DP, especially since our only form of power gain is the Wanyamon. And then, okay, so now let's get into the conversation about Metal Siegramon versus Volcanodramon. So lately I've been seeing a lot more Omni decks, or blue decks rather, just switching out the extra slots for just Volcanodramon. And I particularly don't like that. I see the merit in it for Rookie Rush, and yeah, it can totally blow out Rookie Rush as a whole. But I mean, fact of the matter is that there's going to be a lot of times where you just really don't want to hard cast that Volcanodramon. And so, I mean, if you look at Metal Siegramon, it says on play, return up to 2 of your opponent's level 4 lower Digimon to their hand. Pretty good. It doesn't do quite as much as Volcanodramon, but I mean, I think that effect in itself has a little bit more utility. I mean, you could be playing against purple, they pull out their Piedmon and they bring out those 2 blockers, or they pull out Digimon that have Vengeance, and then all of a sudden your Omnimon's in trouble and you can just hard play it and then put those back to hand, and then you don't have to worry about them for another turn. So things like that, I think it's just a little bit better in terms of usability, viability, and then also its second effect is this Digimon can't be blocked by your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards. So it's kind of that game-winning card. So yes, you have Omnimon, yes, you have Plesiomon that are just big board presences and are very good at what they do and providing a lot of pressure, but they don't necessarily close out games. So if you're looking for that final swing, you have 1 Digimon on board, they have 2 blockers because, you know, Piedmon or whatever the case may be, you have this card that can just say no. And of course, you know, since it's blue, you could even Digivolve into it for a 3 cost, which isn't bad. So I think being able to draw off a Digivolution with a 3 cost, not a 4 cost, is really nice for this deck. I think it has better utility in its on-play effect, and I think it can outright win the game for you in the correct circumstances compared to Volcanodramon. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't need more board presence, you don't need anything of that sort, because these two already do it for you. And I think the next thing that's kind of a surprise would be not maxing out on Omnimon. And so, I don't know if you're like me, I'm not particularly a very lucky person. So, knowing me, I would be the type of person that would have 4 Omnimon in hand, and so I try not to try not to max out on them unless I was really running a Omnimon Rush kind of build, or Omnimon Turbo build. But again, I wanted to play into those things, or to the tropes of the deck, you know, memory efficiency, utility, and spamability. And I think that encapsulates this deck a little bit more, rather than just I summon big beefy boy and that's the game. Because if you fall behind with this deck, it's pretty hard to come back. But that's just my 2 cents. And then for the option cards, we have the standard 4 Hammer Spark and 2 Kaiser Nail. Hammer Spark, great card, not much to say there. Helps you be memory efficient, helps you choke your opponent out, etc., etc. And then Kaiser Nail is just an insane card. That is, I think it's starting to get a little bit more traction, but at the same time, I still think it's a little undervalued. I mean, for example, the reason why it's so good is, I mean, you have Kaiser Nail in hand, you say you get Puppetmon, you had just summoned Omnimon last turn, you have Gurumon underneath one of your stacks, and you just pop that out, restand your Omnimon, and hey, you're back in there. And then also things like that, I mean, you could be bringing out Gabumon, you can bring out Zudomon, I mean, or even Metal Siegramon if you just really don't want to use that effect for Omnimon. But I mean, it can get you out of so many sticky situations. It can trigger those on-play effects, because it doesn't say that it restricts you. And I mean, it just, again, plays into that trope of spamability and really gets your deck going. So you have more options than just building tall. So I know Blue Omnimon has a big problem with that. I know Red Omnimon and Gallantmon decks also have big problems with that. So I mean, this is just diversifies your ability to respond to the game state. So again, I think for me, this is personally the way I would run it. I think that this is probably my favorite ratios. I think the only thing that you could argue is if you wanted to just turn this into Omnimon Turbo, that's something that you definitely can do. But I think the Kaiser Nail and the Metal Siegramon, I think, are probably the most underrated cards out of all of the blue strategies. But all right, well, thanks. Let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to like, subscribe, and hope you have a great day.